What art form is it that you practice?
I practice quilt making. I make quilts, I design my own quilts, I make quilts using high quality fabrics, and I work for other people. I do commissions with quilt making for other people.
And there's a perfect example of it right behind you. There's a lovely backdrop there. Love it. When did you first get involved with the arts and how?
The quilting is, I've been doing quilting for 16 years now, but prior to that, I've done photography, candle making, stained glass, and it's always, so basically since I was 20, 21, so for nearly 40 years now.
Right.
So I've been doing different forms of art and crafts.
Yeah. So and kind of how did you get into that? Was it because it's not an easy industry to make a living out of, is it?
No, it's primarily been to stop problems with mental health, depression, suicide, things like that. And while I'm busy doing craft, I'm working with my hands. I'm not letting my mind think all the negatives. Right. It's only the it's been craft for me is a lifesaver. It really is.
Do you think? Would you say that's what it's inspired you? Does it inform your work as well, or?
No, it's more of a distraction.
Right.
I know that when I'm working in the art and crafts, then I'm not thinking about negative thought, and that's the big thing.
Yeah, it's more the process.
Yes.
Of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what does inspire your work then?
Oh, nature, everything that's around me. It might be seeing a crack in the footpath, but the pattern that the crack makes is one example. But being able to, like, one of my pieces of work when I was at uni was the sailing ships down the docks, the Trincomalee, and that progressed from just seeing a ship in the dock through to making a chair, through to upholstering the handmade designs, all the process of that. So it's like itself as me reference that I go to.
Right. And would you say you're more kind of driven by pattern or colour, or is it a combination of both?
Combination of both, but what really drives is the technical. When you're making quilts, the piece that you cut has to be precise. Because if you're like on a king size quilt, if your piece of fabric is the thickness of a fingernail out,
right,
then by the time you get to the full size quilt, you're an inch and a half out, so all your pattern gets destroyed. And then the design side of it, which colours go together, which shapes go together, and things like that.
So how did you learn your craft then? Sorry, apologies for me keep looking down. I just want to make sure I ask all the right questions.
Might be trying the computer. Self-taught. It was like when I'd get sick of photography, or when I couldn't see any avenues to progress, or with another art form, then I'd find something else to do. And it would be read a magazine and think, yeah, I can do that. And that was for quilting. That was over 16 years ago.
Right. So there's a lot of it, because you did go to university as well, didn't you? Did you go to Northern School of Art?
I was at the Northern School of Art doing Contemporary Textiles and Products. And I qualified in 19, 20, right. No, 18. 2 years ago, 2018, 2019, July.
It's been a strange year, and nobody knows who they are or where they are or what year it is. So I suppose initially, did you start off kind of just through curiosity and being self-taught, and then that led you on and thought, right, I've done the photography, I've done this, I've done that. So then you went on and kind of to do the course, do the training. Yeah.
It was the likes of, I was in a place where I needed some more inspiration. I needed to put things on a formal position, because you can muddle through and you can try, but and over time get better. But if you've got the tutors there that know what they're doing, then that makes the process a lot quicker.
Yeah. Brilliant. And do you ever collaborate, or do you tend to work alone?
I work alone on my own designs and everything, but I have what they call a long arm sewing machine. That's basically, it's a 12-foot sewing machine.
What?
Yeah. You'll have to come along and see it.
I
know. You can program patterns into it.
Right.
And you put the pattern on, because a quilt is 3 layers of fabric. And it's only when you sew them all together, it becomes a quilt.
Yeah.
So I work with other people when they're bringing me work in, and I do the commission me, and then I do the designs for them and finish the quilts off and give them back. But I've got ideas that would work for an exhibition.
Right. Okay.
So there is potential there.
Ideas are bubbling.
Yes. Oh, yes. Most of them are written down. I've progressed that, but that's where I.
Yeah. Would that be your first exhibition, or have you exhibited before?
That would be the first exhibition.
Ooh, excited. Do you think the creative arts are important? Sorry, no. Why do you think the creative arts are important to you personally and more generally?
Well, to me personally, as I say, it's mental health.
Yeah.
If I wasn't doing arts, I probably wouldn't be here now. Hand on heart, I wouldn't be here. And it means an awful lot to me. What was the next part of the question?
And more generally, why do you think the arts is important?
Because even if people think that they're not interested in arts, they see it all around them. It might be a billboard poster, but that's creative. And you can, like I say, cracks in pavements. Children used to jump over the cracks so that the crocodiles didn't get them.
I still play that with my children.
Yeah, but that crack is a pattern, and you might not go to the opera. You think, well, opera's no good for me, and for me it was like going to university. The old-fashioned old oil paintings of people in galleries that had no interest at all. You may as well throw engine oil on the wall. And then when I went to university, there was a tutor that particularly, can I mention their name?
Yeah.
Right, well, she was doing art history with me, and the penny dropped.
Right.
And I don't have a passport. I don't like traveling out of the country, but I would actually buy a passport and I would travel to France just to see 2 pieces of artwork that she inspired me with. I've been to galleries all over the place, all over the country now, because of the way Alison put art history over.
Right.
And that's inspiring.
Yeah. It does make a huge difference, doesn't it? Where if the person who's teaching you just knows how to ignite that passion, makes a massive difference.
But like now, I can walk through a shopping centre and see different pieces of art that I'd never have noticed, and a lot of people will do that now subconsciously. But so the arts and crafts, and then of course you've got, you know, William Morris. You know, he was an inspiration throughout uni. You know, it's so yes.
Yeah.
You know.
So how the dreaded 2020 question, how has lockdown affected your work and any future plans?
It's given me time to plan more, because there was no, it was like, oh, well, I'll do this, I'll do that, and I'll do the other. But because there hasn't been many people coming in, then I've had time to plan. I've been able to put strategies in place to look at exhibitions and to work with others, collaborations. But it's also, it's made me work a lot more cost effective.
Okay.
And
in what way?
Sorry?
In what way?
Well, I would do something. I would make a sample quilt and not do nothing with it, because it satisfied the creative edge, the design, the cutting techniques, and stitching them together with a 1/4-inch seam to, you know, make sure it's precise. But then it would just go in the cupboard. Whereas now, because I've had a bit more time, I've been able to look at these and think, well, I can work smarter and I can work more cost effective, because taking all those little samples out to be able to make them into a bigger quilt or a bigger piece of work. And so it's given me time like that.
Yeah.
And online, we've had a lot more sales online. You know, so, and we're now looking at going into a shop. We're taking a lease on the shop.
Right. Where's the shop going to be?
It's near Timlands in Upper Church Street.
Okay. Yes. Yeah.
The art gallery.
Right.
It's going to be there, and so that's something that we're looking for. And we wouldn't have done that had lockdown not happened, because we were trying to scrabble around, or I was trying to say, well, if I do this, this will work. If I do that, and whereas with the lockdown, I've been able to sit down and strategically plan, say, right, this is where I want to go to. This is where I'm at now, and this is how I'm going to get there.
That's brilliant. It's so lovely to hear, like, that it's had a positive effect. I think a lot of conversations we've been having with people where it's, you know, it has been a really hard year, but it has given, people are just so busy hand to mouth all the time that you don't have time to stop and think. And it has afforded people that time, and for them to kind of think of how, even on a very basic level of like, right, well, I'm not going back to work in that way because it's not good for me, or it's not productive, or so. I'm really glad to hear that it's had such a positive effect.
Well, I mean, you can be political on either side or whatever, which way you want, but the broad of the bounce back loan, we applied for that and we got a bounce back loan. Had we not done that, we wouldn't have been here now talking to you.
Right.
Because there wasn't enough money in to pay the rent and that. So it's that's kept us going, regardless of political affiliations. But that's something that has only come out of lockdown.
Yeah.
But we're getting because there's been more time that we can focus and advertise in certain niche areas. Like our demographics is 35 to 70 plus.
Right.
So we've been able to target those people, because they've been wanting to learn new, and so crafts all around people, but they want to start using the hands. They want to do something, so we've been able to help them like that.
Yeah.
Well, we weren't doing any workshops and anything for prior to lockdown. We've only done a few, or I've only done a few, and it's been socially distant, one-on-one. So at the end of a 6 foot, 8 foot table, and I've been doing the instructions that way.
Yeah.
But again, that wouldn't have happened had we not been in lockdown, because it afforded us more time. And so, yeah.
That's brilliant. Well, I'm really pleased to hear that it's had such, it's been a difficult year, but it's been so positive for you. And now you're about to embark on a totally new, exciting chapter that possibly wouldn't have happened had it not been for this. So, well, that's the end of the questions. So thank you very much. Thank you for being my guinea pig. We'll forward all of this information on to Lisa, and if there's anything she needs, she'll be in touch. I know that there's a possibility of putting that you're in touch with different networks and things. So,
that would be really helpful, because the likes of, I've got an idea for an exhibition about quilts used to be always made by women, and it was always a pastime that they had to make to supplement bedding and to keep people warm. But you've got the art side of it now. So I want to work between an established stitch artist, quilt panels, stitch artists work into them and things like that. So
oh, brilliant. Yeah. Well, any kind of information that you want to send over, so like your website, any promotional information, if you send it all over, and we can, you either send it directly to Lisa or via us, because I know you have contacted her, haven't you, with the forms and things. Yeah, but she can make sure that that's kind of circulated into the right places.
Right.
Lovely. Thanks, Alan.
Take care.
Bye.